Pope Francis is weighing in on reports alleging nuns were silenced for years about the sexual abuse they endured from priests. An article in this month's issue of the Vatican's Women's Magazine says the nuns did not report the abuse because they feared retaliation against themselves or their orders. While speaking to reporters today on board a plane back from Abu Dhabi, the pontiff praised his predecessor for how he handled these types of situations at the time. CBS News foreign correspondent Seth Doane is joining us now from near the Vatican. So, Seth, describe to our viewers what these reports allege.
Well, these reports have alleged abuse of nuns, in some cases sexual abuse of nuns, talking even to the point of nuns having abortions or giving birth to babies fathered by priests, and talked about this real culture of silence, this fear of retaliation. Nuns would not report this abuse because they were afraid of being silenced or of some sort of retaliation. Now, this is an issue that has been widely reported in the past. This is stretches back for quite some time in some cases, but to have it published just the other day in this magazine is quite a big deal. This is, in essence, a Vatican organ. It is an official newspaper coming from the Vatican, and it included some of Pope Francis's thoughts on abuse, something that we hear quite a bit from Pope Francis, which is this issue of clericalism. He cites, not only in the case this was relating specifically to nuns being abused, but he talks about clericalism and issues of clerical sexual abuse of minors as well. This hierarchy, this sense of power and clerics feeling above the law.
You know, the report is so disturbing, Seth, and I know we mentioned earlier at the top that the Pope, on a plane back from Abu Dhabi, praised his predecessor for how he handled these types of situations. What does he mean by that, and what more are you hearing from the Vatican?
Well, the Pope did speak. He was speaking about a couple of different issues in this one answer. The praise was related to the issue, but not directly related to this issue of St. John, which is the order that was dissolved by Pope Benedict. What we heard from Pope Francis, reporters heard on the plane today coming back, was that Pope Francis said Pope Benedict had the courage to dissolve a female congregation because the slavery of women had entered it. The Pope went on to say slavery even to the point of sexual slavery on the part of clerics or the founder. Now, he was not specific about which order had been dissolved by Pope Benedict. We sought a clarification from the Holy See press office, Alessandro Gisotti, who is the interim director of the press office, and he said that the Pope was referring to the Order of St. John in France. Now, we don't know much about that order. We know that it was dissolved back in 2005, just after Pope Benedict became Pope, so it would have been one of his very early actions, but there was no indication that it was dissolved, at least in part, because of this sexual abuse of nuns. That is a new revelation that we are hearing today. In fact, I spoke with a couple of different priests, a couple of fathers on the phone to say, was this ever anything that you heard about? And they said, no, this must have happened in complete silence. So that really is the revelation here, that this order was closed, the Pope says, because of this sexual abuse against nuns. We're, of course, seeking more clarification.
Are we starting, Seth, to see the effects of the Me Too movement within the church?
Well, certainly. You've done a lot of reporting on it. We've seen it. Nikki Batiste there in the U.S. has done a lot of reporting on it, and we have here, too. You have seen this Me Too movement kind of cutting across cultures and certainly affecting the Vatican. That bombshell report in Pennsylvania, the grand jury report that came out that talked about the abuse of minors there in Pennsylvania by clerics within the church, and all of the reporting that we've seen really through the fall. The Pope set up in February this summit, which is going to be bringing bishops from around the world here to the Vatican to address this issue. Now, I was just traveling with the Pope about a week or so ago on his trip to Panama, and it was very interesting. On the flight back, we asked him, reporters on board asked him about that upcoming February summit, and he said, I believe that feelings about the summit have been inflated, expectations about the summit have been inflated and should be deflated, which was quite surprising to hear from the Pope, because the Church has put so much emphasis on this February summit and trying to confront and deal with some of these issues of clerical sex abuse at that point.
All right, Seth Doane reporting from the Vatican for us today. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate it.